Does your 4Runner horn sound like you're squeezing Daffy Duck by the balls? Well, not anymore. At least I hope not anymore. Today, we are going to replace the crappy factory horn with some of these new Hella horns that I picked up. These are specifically set up to just plug and play into the 4Runner. We're going to get that knocked out today. So here's the horns that we're going to be hooking up to the 4Runner today. We've got the Hella TE26s. It's two horns, two different frequencies, and it's super easy. So they're, let's see, 110 decibels. So I don't know how that compares to the factory, but we're going to find out today. I'll give you guys a before and after of what they sound like. But what you get in the box is two horns, and that's it. They both have their mounting bracket installed already. So all we should have to do is pull off the fairing inside the engine bay, unbolt the factory horns, undo those connectors, bolt these horns up exactly where those are, I believe. Pop in our electrical connectors, we'll be ready to rock. It's a super simple project, but it is much needed. So let's get to it. Depending on how many times this cover's been taken off on your 4Runner, you might have some of these plugs missing. So all we need to do is undo every single one of these, so that way this plastic shroud will pop off and it'll give us access to the horns. So I'll show you guys the whole kit later that I've got, but if you've worked on, well, we just broke that one. If you've worked on enough modern vehicles where they have all these plastic shrouds over everything and they're all kept in with these little clips, you realize you pretty much break them 80% of the time. So I've got a kit that's got a lot of variety of these different plugs for different hole sizes and lengths. And that's pretty much a must-have. So I'll drop a link for that kit down in the description. But it also came with a couple of these pry tools, which makes life a little bit easier with trying to pop them out as well. Highly recommend. And Toyota was really worried about this thing flying off apparently because they used a ton of these. Sometimes you gotta be persuasive. Golly, Mr. Jenkins. I don't even know what that means. I think I just made it up. If so, it should just lift right off. Bada bing, bada boom. Here comes the horn test for the factory horn. That is embarrassing. I'm actually embarrassed anytime that I'm with Mary and her 4Runner and we have to honk the horn at somebody. Half the time I don't. I usually just, well, I don't honk the horn. But I get embarrassed. I am excited to get this replaced. However, we just pulled that cover off, and I'm only seeing one factory horn. So, not sure what the deal is there. We'll get it figured out. Ugh. Always, and guess what? The bolt didn't fall to the ground, so you have to track that down. Alright, here's the rinky dinky factory horn. I really thought there was a pair of them in here, so we're going to have to figure out how to wire them together. But pop out our connector. So your connector is only one wire, so it's a positive wire. That's it. I don't know if you can see that in the video there, but the way you get your ground is it actually grounds out on the vehicle. So the bolt that runs through here and connects you to your frame, that is how it gets its ground. So you need to make sure that if you decide to mount them some other way, that you have a ground, otherwise they're not going to work. So it does look like, in fact, there is only one factory horn on the Toyota 4Runner. I've not really confirmed that online with everybody else's, but I'm not seeing anything else. I think what we're going to end up doing is I'm just going to probably scuff up these surfaces on the brackets so that way it actually grounds out. I'm going to connect them both through the same hole, so it's going to look about like that. We'll get it mounted in here. So what's inside of this plug is just a spade connector. I can look inside and see that. So although I'd like to maintain the factory clip in there, I'm not sure I'll be able to. So I'm probably, let's see. Actually, you know what I'll do? I might just splice into this wire and then I'll run a female spade. Yeah, a female spade connector off of this one, piggyback it, and then we'll plug it into the second horn. And that should work for us. So I was expecting there to be 2 factory horns, so I would have 2 connectors, and that would be pretty simple, but it doesn't look as though I'm that lucky. So we're going to do that, and we'll see how it goes. So we're not going to get too crazy with this and make it super fancy, but all we're going to do is take one of these splice connectors, and essentially this has a little blade inside of it that you put one wire in one side and one wire in the other side, and when you pierce that blade into the wires it makes a connection. So we're going to splice into the power wire with one of these and then have a little dongle coming off, which will be our power for the second horn. And then I've got some 2-strand wire here that I'll just cut off one segment of it. It is a sufficient gauge size. Then we'll run some of this expandable sheathing that I've got just to help protect the wire a bit. So this will slip over the wire and just be some abrasion protection. And then I will also use some heat shrink to keep all that in place. And that's it. Then we'll and then we will crimp on a female spade connector. And we should be rocking and rolling. Actually, while I got you here too, this is that kit that I was telling you about that's got all the various size plugs. Super handy, and I will drop a link for this. I'm pretty sure I just picked it up on Amazon. So yeah, I don't get any money from it, but if it helps you out, cool. 10 inches will be plenty. And we'll just pull out the red wire and use that for our power. You don't even need to strip it on the side that goes into this connector because it just pierces the wire. So you're good to go there. It does actually look like a wider spade, unfortunately, so that's a bit of a bummer. Alright, so slight change of plans. I'm only actually going to hook up one horn right now. I already hooked it up just to test it to make sure it functioned, and it is easily 10 times better than the factory horn. So I'm going to hook up one horn for right now because that's nice, easy plug and play. And we're going to run it like that, and I'm going to go ahead and order another one of the female connectors, or male connector, however you want to look at it, that attaches to these horns. So I'm going to do that. So it's a nice, easy plug and play, easy to remove if I ever need to in the future. And then we'll just splice in with one of these blade splice connectors. And that'll be super easy. We'll get it hooked up. But for right now, we're just going to do that. Shouldn't be any problems. I was originally going to use some of these spade connectors that you can buy in the packs. But unfortunately, the blade on the spade in here is actually too wide for these. So that's what we're going to do for right now. All we're going to do is take the factory plug here, pop it into our connector on our new horn. Nice and simple. We'll take our bolt, and we're going to bolt it up to the same exact location. And again, this is how it grounds. So you have to make sure you have a metal on metal contact if you end up bolting it up a different way. Alright, let's see how she sounds. I think that's the higher pitch of the two horns, so I'm actually going to swap it out to the other one real quick, because I think the other one is what I tested earlier. Let me do that, because if I'm only running one for a little bit, I don't want it to sound that trumpety. Round two. I mustn't have a good ground, I suppose. Didn't do anything. Pretty good evidence that you do in fact need to have a good ground here. I'm going to scrape that up a little bit with some sandpaper. I'm going to go ahead and sand both sides. Shouldn't really need it, but we'll make sure, like I said, that we have a nice good connection, because as you just saw, if you don't, horn no worky. And we'll go ahead and hit the body. It should actually ground out on the threads, but we'll give it no excuse to not work. Alright, you know what they say, third time's a charm. Alright. Oh yeah, that is so much louder and so much less, like I mentioned earlier. So, all right, heck yeah, we're gonna get the little cowling put back in here. And we'll be ready to rock. And like I said, I'm gonna get that part ordered so that way I can have a nice plug and play solution. And just like with everything else, I'll go ahead and drop a link to that part if I can find it. I actually haven't looked online yet, but I figure it's got to be available. So yeah, all right, let's get her buttoned back up. I will actually be able to use the horn now without sounding like a little squeaky toy behind the car in front of me. So that's nice. Come on with your bad self. Hiya! Oh, I hate these things. Thank you. Tell you what. All right. Bada bing, bada boom. All right. Well, that was a pretty simple project. Again, like I said, I'm going to get that part ordered so I can get the second horn installed. But if you can get one horn installed, you can get the second one installed, because it's pretty simple. It's pretty much plug and play, shy of just needing one extra connector. So we'll get that wired up when that comes in the mail. But all in all, pretty simple and such an improvement. I wired up both of them just with some roach clips, and it is fantastic. So this is definitely going to be a nice improvement over the factory horn. I'm not going to be embarrassed to use it anymore. I'll probably be throwing out a few less middle fingers, so it's going to be good for everybody. So I appreciate you guys tuning into this one. Hopefully it helped you out a little bit. Like I said, I'll drop links to the horns, that kit for all the different plugs, and the electrical connector if I find it. So all that will be down below in the description. Check that out. I don't have any affiliation with them, so I'm not making any money off of it, but it'll be there for you guys to reference. So if you liked the video and it helped you out, go ahead and drop a thumbs up. That would be awesome. Subscribe would be fantastic. We're up over 200 subscribers now, which is fantastic. Really excited about that. So thank you guys for returning to my videos and watching them. I really appreciate that. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.